What is going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we are going to jump back over to Marvel Comics and continue our coverage over Dan Slott Fantastic Four series, and we pick up with Volume 4. Now, Volume 4 is a very interesting storyline because you have Ben Grimm fighting against the Hulk once again. And we have seen that so many times in Marvel Comics before, except this time it is going to be a tad bit different. And the reason why, because, well, Ben Grimm is on his honeymoon and he must fight the Hulk while being on his honeymoon, which is kind of interesting. But with that being said, I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. And if you do, please hit that like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. To begin today's video, we pick up with Ben Grimm right now being tested on by Reed Richards. Now, the reason why Reed is testing Ben is because every year, once a year, Ben Grimm goes through a certain process where he loses his rock body and turns back into a regular human being. And honestly, this is a very special thing, especially right now, because Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters are going on their honeymoon, and Ben Grimm wants to enjoy the honeymoon with his new wife looking like a regular human being. And so you do have Reed tell Ben that in 11 hours, Ben Grimm should turn back into his regular human form. Now, on top of that, you do have Ben Grimm hand over his Fantastic Four communicator, because the Fantastic Four wants Ben to enjoy his honeymoon. Do not worry about any problem the Fantastic Four could be in. Luke Cage will take his spot temporarily until he comes back from his honeymoon. Now, if you're wondering where in the world is Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters celebrating their honeymoon at, well, the book does not tell us. The book tells us that it is a remote island. But either way, once they do arrive to this island, you do have the bellboy actually take Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters to their room. Now, once he does that and leave, he does call up someone, because apparently the person he is calling right now told him to call them when Ben Grimm arrived at the island, which means that trouble is on their way to that island right now to make Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters' honeymoon a little bit difficult to enjoy. Now, we do get a page where apparently you have a bunch of men on a boat just out there enjoying the night in the middle of the ocean. But that is when their boat is attacked by something underwater. Unfortunately, they were unable to see it, and this thing is now heading towards the same island that Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters are having their honeymoon at. So again, trouble is on its way. But then we jump over to Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters right now, just enjoying their time with one another by walking the beach. But then you have Alicia Masters bring up one good question: the wedding band of Ben Grimm, because she is wondering if it will stay on his hand once he goes through the process of turning back into a human person. Because with him turning into a human, his hand will completely change into a smaller hand. And so you do have Ben Grimm say, yes, the ring will fall off when I turn into my human form. And so you do have Alicia Masters get on one knee, and she does propose to Ben Grimm, but not for marriage, but in a way to say, I'm giving you another ring to wear when you are in your human form. And so honestly, I really like that a lot. It's very sweet. Now, let's not forget that trouble is heading towards the island. And so when you have Ben Grimm and Alicia Masters just continue to walk on the beach, whatever was in the water earlier does pop out of the water, and it does crash land on the island. And when that happened, of course, the whole island shakes like an earthquake. And that is when you have Ben Grimm realize what in the world just crash landed on the island. Of course, it was the Hulk. Now, back in the early days of Marvel Comics, Hulk and Ben Grimm used to fight against each other a lot of times. Back in the 60s, maybe early 70s, Ben Grimm was actually on the same level as the Hulk. But by the late 70s, 80s, 90s, and now, well, of course, the Hulk kept getting stronger and stronger, and Ben Grimm, well, he did not. And so right now, Ben Grimm should be scared because the Hulk is way stronger than he is. On top of that, this is the Immortal Hulk, a Hulk who cannot die. And so right now, Ben Grimm is kind of screwed. On top of that, his watch goes off to tell him when he is going to change into his human form, which means when he turns into his human form and Hulk is still around, well, Hulk can actually kill Ben Grimm very easily. And so that is the moment where you actually have the Hulk tell Ben Grimm that he is here to kill Ben Grimm. Now Ben Grimm is confused because he's wondering, why in the world does the Hulk want to kill me for? What did I do to make him angry? But that is when we come to find out the Hulk is being controlled by the Puppet Master. Now, the Puppet Master is an old Fantastic Four villain, but he also is the stepfather to Alicia Masters, which means that he is Ben Grimm's father-in-law. But when it comes to the Puppet Master, he is able to control anyone if he had made a puppet of that person out of a certain kind of component. And so, of course, he was able to make a Hulk puppet out of his components, and now he is controlling the Hulk to fight against Ben Grimm. Now remember what I said earlier, that Ben Grimm is no longer on the same power level as the Hulk. The Hulk is just too strong. And so you have the Hulk just throwing Ben Grimm around all over the place. And with him doing that, Ben Grimm is kind of like, man, I really wish I can catch my breath, but the Hulk won't let him catch his breath. Now with the Hulk throwing Ben Grimm all over the place, well, that is when you have Ben Grimm realize that his new wife and some innocent people are now trapped under some debris. And with them being trapped under that debris, Ben Grimm wants to save them. But of course, the Hulk is not letting that happen. The Hulk is back once again to continue to fight against Ben Grimm. And so Ben Grimm must do two things. First, save his wife and those innocent people, and also find a way to stop the Hulk before time runs out. Because remember, that timer is going down. And sooner or later, Ben Grimm is going to turn back into his regular human form. And he's trying to beat the Hulk before that happens. Now, it doesn't take Ben Grimm long to figure out that the Puppet Master is controlling the Hulk. Because when you have Ben Grimm asking the Hulk to stop fighting just for a brief moment so that he is able to save his wife, who is right now trapped under a bunch of debris, that is when you have the Puppet Master begin to freak out and speak through the mind of the Hulk. Because remember, the Puppet Master is the stepfather to Alicia Masters, which makes him the father-in-law to Ben Grimm. And so when you have the Puppet Master freaking out, that is when Ben Grimm realized, wait a second, the Hulk's not here to fight and kill me. The Hulk is being controlled at the moment. And you would think that the Puppet Master would actually let Ben Grimm save his wife. But of course, when it comes to the Puppet Master controlling the Hulk, the one thing he wants to do is to actually kill Ben Grimm. So even though his stepdaughter is right now trapped under a bunch of debris, he wants to make sure he kills Ben Grimm first before saving his own daughter's life. But then we jump over to Alicia Masters and we see her talking to the group of people who are trapped with her. Now you actually do have Alicia Masters tell the group that they need to find a way out of here while her husband fights against the Hulk. And she tells the group to follow her because even though she is blind, she moves better in the dark than she does when there's light around her. And so with that, she is able to move in the dark perfectly fine, and she's hoping she can find a way out of here. Now, we still haven't learned why the Puppet Master is trying to kill Ben Grimm for, and that is when we come to find out why. And the reason why is because Ben Grimm married Alicia Masters, which means the Puppet Master lost his daughter, something he had a hard time dealing with. Now, if you have read every single issue of Dan Slott's run on the Fantastic Four, and we have skipped over a couple, Ben Grimm actually asked the Puppet Master for his daughter's hand, and he said yes. But that is when we come to find out that Alicia Masters actually made a puppet, a radioactive puppet, as a way for her to control her father, to make her father say, yes, I do allow you to marry my daughter. And so with her doing that, the Puppet Master technically never did agree with Ben Grimm marrying his daughter. And so that is why he is here, because he lost his daughter, and so you have the Puppet Master controlling the Hulk as a way to kill Ben Grimm. Now this leads into one of the best moments in comics and recent comics, because you do have the Hulk actually send Ben Grimm flying once again, and once he lands on the ground, you do have Alicia Masters run over to her man to make sure that her man is okay. But of course, he is not okay. He is very close to dying. And so he begs his wife to go ahead and run away before the Hulk shows up and kills them both, because he tells his wife the Hulk is too strong. The Hulk is stronger, bigger, faster than me. There's no way I can beat him. Go ahead and leave. But that is when she tells her man, she tells Ben Grimm, that it's all about heart, and no one puts all their heart into a fight better than you. And that right there actually inspires Ben Grimm to get back up one more time to fight against the Hulk, and hoping he can actually beat the Hulk. And so we see Ben Grimm run towards the Hulk, and even though he knows the Hulk is bigger, faster, stronger than he is, of course, Ben Grimm has more heart than the Hulk does. And so we see Ben Grimm put all his strength into one last punch, and he punched the Hulk so hard that it actually stops the Hulk right in his track. On top of that, it does send a feedback over to the Puppet Master and destroys the puppet that the Puppet Master was using as a way to control the Hulk. And so now the Puppet Master has been defeated by Ben Grimm once again. Now with the Hulk being knocked out, of course, that means that Ben Grimm can also go to sleep to finally get some rest. But right when he passes out, we see that his time was up, because let's not forget that the reason why Ben Grimm was going on this honeymoon to celebrate their new marriage with each other was because once a year, every year, Ben Grimm turns into his regular human form. And when the timer was up, he turns into his regular human form. But unfortunately, he is so badly beaten, he passes out, which means he missed the moment to spend with his wife looking like a regular human being. And of course, when he wakes back up, of course, he's back home with the rest of the Fantastic Four, because right now they're trying to patch him up to make sure that he is okay. But when he wakes up, he begins to freak out because he thinks that if he gets up, that means the Hulk for sure is also okay, which means the Hulk must be around somewhere. But you didn't have Sue tell Ben Grimm, don't worry, you've been out for a whole week. And when we came to get you, Hulk was long gone. So don't worry, the Hulk is not coming around. But then you have Ben Grimm get upset with the idea that his honeymoon was ruined. But then you have Alicia Masters basically bring up the idea that Ben Grimm was able to actually defeat the Hulk for the first time in a long time in Marvel Comics. And that does bring so much joy to Ben Grimm's life right there. But to wrap up this story, we actually see the Hulk go to the prison that was holding the Puppet Master. Because throughout this whole fight, the Puppet Master was in jail. And so with that, you have the Hulk break into that prison to find the Puppet Master. And when he does, he breaks the fingers of the Puppet Master. And then you have Hulk say, "Oh, don't worry. We're not gonna stop there. I'm about to break every single bone in your body for controlling me." And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please hit the like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video.